This conference will now be recorded.
I went by my Fitbit. And Tim argued with me, but I want to welcome everybody to the Tilton Planning Board meeting for Tuesday, October 25th, 2022. I'm Jane Alden. I'm the chair. To my left is Tom Damon. To my right is Christine Demninsky and John Scanlon. He's the ex officio from the Selectmen's group. And first order of business tonight is a change of use for 504 Laconia Road, R10, Lot 7. It's for a restaurant and a brewery. And I believe if the planning board looks at your records, you have a copy of the application. And I make a motion to bring the application to the board for approval, table.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Up and either sit here, stand up there, whatever you're comfortable doing. Do you need 500 Laconia Road next to? Oh, okay. Okay. So Jane, this is so this is a change of use.
Yes.
You can decide whether this change of use application is sufficient or if you want a site plan. They are doing no changes to the site, to the building or the parking, but I felt it'd be good if he came here and just kind of reviewed what he's going to do so you understand what the change is going to be to the building. But it was Shiloh's and it was used as a restaurant in the past, but it's been vacant for so long. And he's going to be going in and has a little bit different setup. So again, no changes really, I think that warrant a site plan, but just a review by the board.
And again, I apologize for your having to show up 2 weeks ago and we didn't have a quorum, so you had to come back. I apologize for that. Speak to me. Is there a motion to accept it?
Just a, okay, change of use.
This is just the application for change of use. Okay,
I'll make a motion to accept the application as substantially complete.
I accept it. Second it. Is there a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yep.
No,
Any questions?
Yeah. Explain what you're going to do.
Oh, you just want a quick explanation? So yeah, as Leanne said, no changes to the structure, to the parking. Looking to do a light fare restaurant, brew pub, small brewery on site in the basement, brewing our beer there. Expecting to do a beer and wine license from the state of New Hampshire, no hard alcohol, beer and wine only. I expect the capacity to actually be a little less than it was under Shiloh's. I think they were 110. I don't think I'm going to go quite that large. Yeah, looking to shoot to open hopefully for January. Yeah, so I'm just in there right now doing some cosmetics. As Leanne said, obviously you all know it's been closed for a number of years. So yeah, anyone has any questions, I'm happy to. Yep, sewer's been submitted. I believe the sewer commission met last Tuesday. I have not heard back from Joanna yet, but I'm assuming everything went well. If it didn't, I figured I would have heard from her.
Department.
Fire department's been in. Yep, they've done an initial inspection. They came in to get the gas turned on. Gave me a few minor things, emergency lighting, that type of stuff just needs to be updated. Building inspector's been there once already, just to do a quick walkthrough. Had no real major.
What kind of signage do you plan to have?
So roadside sign that was for Shiloh's height. By the turn in to something.
Any additional lighting?
So there's lighting, security lighting on the building that just.
You're going to put any additional lighting in the parking lot for your clients?
Well, like, there's two large safety lights,
Okay.
so I'm gonna get those functional and
Mm.
kind of see at that point.
Yeah. My concern is if you do add lighting, there are certain limits to which we can, downcast under 15 feet or under. A lot of people put ground lighting, but when the snow comes, they're gone. And I know you welcome to the fold because there are now 38 other restaurants in the town of Tilton.
Well, that wasn't restaurant for a long time.
Oh, I know it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am aware of that. In fact, I was there a couple of times. But best of luck to you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, as far as lighting goes, like I said, I'm hoping what's there is enough once it's repaired. Exactly what Shiloh's has.
Okay. Other question?
Is the parking striped?
It's not.
So the lighting will conform to the current standards.
Whatever the
And-
codes are.
Yeah.
And the signage as well.
Yes, I need to review the sign.
Any other questions? Going to open it to the public. Any comments from the public? Seeing none? All right, I'll close it to the public. I'll make a motion to accept the application without a site plan
Second.
or discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right.
Thank you very much.
Mhm. All right, the next case before us, a follow-up to continuation of the site plan review and conditional use permit for the preserve at Winnisquam, 725 Laconia Road, map R09, lot 25, 26, and 27. And this is a site plan review of proposed development on 34.75 acres with 3,200 feet of frontage to include 114 room inn, 4 lakefront cottages, a restaurant, a bar, a spa, and an event bar. And tonight we're going to talk about, we have 3 conditional use permits. So would you like to come up and present those? The first one is for a wetlands crossing to construct a driveway to access proposed hotel from Route 3, impact 3355. And then the second is a wetland disturbance due to grading for an existing driveway. And number 3 is a proposed 24-inch reinforced concrete pipe to replace 2 existing PVC pipes, a 4-inch and a 6-inch, for a proposed gravel walking path. Okay, so let's take them one at a time.
All right, well, thank you for having me again. I'm Chris Solomon from Selectmen.
Hold on, Chris. We need to set you up either with, I guess, might be easier with this.
See if I can share.
Can we stand right here? Do you want to do this in case you want that?
That good with sharing? Okay. Right. So again, thanks for having us back. My name is Chris Solomon from Samandalia Architects. With us tonight, we have Brown Engineering, Kent Brown and Mario. as well as Chris Keel from the SE Group Landscape Architect, and then Clay Hales from Sam and Delia Architects as well. So last time we reviewed the overall site, I know we have the missing board member, so I don't know how much you wanted us to kind of go back through, but just kind of a quick overview. And this is, I'd ran through this last time. Overall, this application has been reviewed by numerous state agencies, including the Department of Transportation, Dredge and Fill, AOT, Shoreline. We had a state traffic study done, endangered species survey, zoning board review, planning board review, conservation commission review, public water supply review and licensing, third-party civil engineering review, as well as we're working with the Marine Patrol on this. So extensive review of that. Jumping into the conditional use permits. So the areas that we're looking at, and I'll zoom into the drawings, is we have an existing wetlands crossing in this location. There's an existing road and culvert there, as well as a wetlands crossing down here. Let me move to those drawings. So this details those wetlands crossings in these two locations here and here. Again, those are two existing areas that we'll be having the road kind of crossing that. So what we're proposing in terms of the scope of work, there's two existing culverts in that area. That the area highlighted in green on the top of the page has an existing 12-inch culvert, and the area to the bottom of the page has an existing 6-inch culvert, which currently is not sized appropriately for the amount of water flow going through there. So what we've proposed is both of those culverts come out, two new 24-inch concrete culverts will go in place. And the reason why those are concrete is working with Fish and Game. They have requested that so that salamanders, frogs, and turtles can pass through those culverts without getting stuck in the kind of nooks and crannies, say, of a plastic culvert. So we're moving those two existing and upsizing them to the appropriate size. Also with this, there's an adjacent roadway. Is this roadway here, that's an existing drive. So we're regrading that road. So currently, as water sheds off of that, it sheds into the wetland area. We're going to regrade that so it sheds inland and is picked up in a swale and pre-treated before that water ends up migrating back towards the wetlands. So all of that water in this location will again be shed off to the inland side of that, picked up in a swale and pre-treated in a gravel swale, which is where we have essentially any water coming from a non-pervious surface has all been pre-treated. And we're actually slowing the water flow from the site from the existing undisturbed flow rates. So we'll be improving the water flow through that system. But that's the kind of the new application to go along with our existing, those two conditional use permits, or excuse me, three. Any questions on that? I was gonna kind of from there, I thought I'd run through all the third-party comments. I know we just got that back at like 3:30 this afternoon, but I figured we can run through those and we have responses and answers for all of that, as well as we got a letter from the Winnisquam Watershed Network. So again, a nice letter from them, and I'd like to just run through those key points as well. Any questions on this before we move ahead?
Any
Did
questions
we
from the board?
cover what the first one, to construct the driveway across to access proposed hotel? Is that one of these?
Yes, so that would be the main entrance. This is Route 3 right here. We have the main entrance coming into the new main entrance, the proposed, not the existing roadway that's there.
Okay.
That comes in. We have two parking lots as you come through the site. This is where that existing crossing, there's an existing road here, which cuts in just adjacent to the cemetery and runs all the way down to the point. So that crosses the wetlands in this location. That's where we're proposing removing the existing 6-inch culvert and replacing it with a 24. think that's, excuse me, that's actually an existing 12-inch culvert we're pulling out and putting in the new concrete 24-inch. So that's the first. And then the second crossing is down here. There's an existing culvert in that location as well. That's a 6-inch culvert, and we're going to be removing that and replacing it with a new 20. And then regrading the road, this road here to pitch it.
Any comments or questions, John?
No.
Huh? All right, I'll open it up to the public. Any comments or questions from the public?
Hold on just a second.
Oh,
Thank you. Oh, is it on? Hello,
Yeah, it's on.
I guess it is. I'm Rich Fournier. I live on Tucker Shore Road in Belmont, directly across the lake from this. And your presentation, just one thing caught my attention. You talked about pre-treating the runoff.
Yep.
Exactly how are you doing that?
so I can speak to this, and I'll have somebody who knows a little bit more about this speak to it as well, the civil engineer. But all runoff is, say, runoff from the building. We're collecting that. We have storm tanks just adjacent to the building in this area. So all that water goes into a catchment area and then percolates back into the soils. So we're slowing the migration of water into the ground, actually slower than the current existing non-developed surface. All of the other parking lots, we're collecting that. That runoff goes through a gravel swale or a catchment area, is pre-treated, and then runs into the kind of back towards the water.
Again, I guess my question is, what do you mean by pre-treated? I mean, we're talking parking lots and roadways that are going to have salt on them in the winter.
Yeah.
And so my question is, how are we going to keep that salt from getting into the lake?
Yep.
I assume you're the engineer that's going to answer that.
Mario Fucaretto, Brown Engineering. The pre-treatment, or just to jump right to the chase, you're talking about getting salt out of the water. That's impossible for what we're doing. That becomes dissolved into the water, and there's no treatment to get the salt out right off the bat. Okay. The rest of it, Chris, I think hit on pretty good. Any stormwater that falls on an impervious area will be treated, and we have subsurface gravel wetland as a treatment center. We have a subsurface sand filtration system as a treatment. We have grassline swales, 2 grassline swales, and 2 level spreaders that lead to vegetated buffer, all of which meets the state standards. There is pre-treatment. The pre-treatment is not to get the salt out, but it's mainly to get the bowling balls and shopping carts, the heavier
Sediments.
Metals and.
We do have a management plan, which will go along with the property of best practices in terms of all those, the catchment areas need to be maintained, and also best practices on the limited use of salt, limited use of sand as well, and plowing practices. So that's a state standard that went along with the state alteration of terrain permit application, which dictates how they're going to maintain and use the property, which is like, we've got like 300 pages of how that's going to happen.
Can I ask one follow-up question, please?
Yep.
On the same like I'm talking about salt coming off the paved areas. What about the fertilizer on that front lawn that's between the hotel and the lake? I mean, you're going.
So that, in terms of keeping runoff out of the lake, there's an existing buffer here. We are proposing planting additional blueberries and other natural vegetation along the water's edge to keep any water on the property in terms of any water in that lawn. But you'd be surprised. Our office is in middle of Kirkwood Gardens, which is part of the Squam Lake Science Center. That has a beautiful green lawn, and granted, a few times a year it smells like a fish market out there, but there's ways to naturally fertilize things. I'm not saying we're proposing using all natural fertilizers, but our goal of conservation of the lake is right in line with yours in that. And also, most of this property is going to be left natural. We're not going to be fertilizing the vast majority of the property. It's really just there's an existing lawn here, and this one area is really the only area that's being proposed to be a more developed kind of manicured type of lawn.
For approval from whatever agency, the state. Advisor, or you're going to use that? Saying this, but where is it in writing somewhere?
We have the state has a best practices in terms of a maintenance plan that we've submitted to the state for that. We aren't submitting a document saying that there will be no fertilizers on the property. I can't speak to that. Through AOT, it's been submitted and accepted. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Project, I live at that 20. Promoting. Out of the natural area out of this, walkways that you see. Up in the snow, like to really turn into.
These back here is too, where you're showing there's paving there. That's all heated pavers, so we won't be salting any of that. So,
Any more questions or comments from the audience? I'm going to close it and come back to the planning board.
So I have a question, and that would be, would you be opposed to coming back before the planning board if you do change your mind and intend bulk salt on the site? A plan for that?
yes, I mean, currently we're not planning on, and Mario, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but we don't have any plans to store bulk salt on the property.
So would you be opposed to being that a condition that if you do intend to do that, you'd come back with a site plan?
Yeah, I'd be accepting of that.
We've had people do that in the past, and some have had to come back to us.
Yep.
That's why we're saying that.
Yeah, I think that currently the plan is for sanding trucks to get filled, they would go to an offsite facility, just because we're not in the business of sand and gravel, and there's enough of those around. But want me to address any of Keach's comments or the?
Let's get this out of the way, because I think this was one of his comments to approve this first. Okay. So any other questions? I'll entertain a motion.
There'd be a motion to accept the conditional, let's see what we got here. Yeah.
Conditional use permit.
Here it is. Yeah. The conditional use permit. Wetlands crossing to construct a driveway to access proposed hotel from Route 3. The wetlands disturbance due to grading from existing driveway. The proposed 24-inch reinforced concrete pipe to replace the exiting PVC pipes, which are presently a 4 and 6 inch. That's for the proposed gravel walkway path.
Okay, I'll second that. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
No,
So it passes. Permit will be granted. All right, the next order of business then is to talk about Keisha's letter. You have a copy of it? I'm not sure all members of the board have had an opportunity to review it. So if you would, we could have a few minutes to have those who haven't had, I had a chance to, but I'm not sure the others have.
Hmm.
All right, if you would like to take these and this unfinished business part of it, some of them's merely labeling plans and all, but go over each one, let's take them one at a time, the general comments and then the zoning and so on.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Just to kind of run back to some of the comments that he had in the previous, that we had updated previous to this new round of comments, was the culverts being amended to concrete versus plastic or metal. We reworked the parking to accommodate the cemetery setbacks. Overall site plan. The fire department, they've reviewed the plans in the project. The voluntary lot merger, conditional approval. So we do know that we need that conditioned on the approvals tonight. Light poles were reduced by 12 inches from 16 feet to 15. The demo permit and inspection, so permit number 2022-10 for the demolition of the existing cottages, and then an inspection and abatement completed on November 29th, 2021. All the existing buildings on the property. That was an inspection by the town. AOT review and response approval. We've gotten their review and response back. Shoreline submission and completion, and then fish and game notification of balloon nesting, which we've notified in that area will be roped off as a protection area for them. So moving ahead, some of the comments. We will be meeting with the sewer commission on the 15th. So that's coming up, and we'll be submitting the sewage ejector system and all the drawings and specifications for that for their approval. We're accepting of a performance guarantee and surety for the installation of erosion and sediment controls. So we're accepting of that. And then accepting of a lot merger conditional on the approvals of the site plan this evening and review of the planning board. That would be coming up. So the planning and design matters, kind of moving down in his notes and comments. Number one, so he's looking for, let me zoom in just so we can, this. Currently, as you leave the property here, if you would stay the night, you're leaving the property, there's room here for 4 cars to stack on the left-hand side that allows you to still have access to make a right-hand turn. In our review with the third-party engineer that did the traffic study, he recommended a 3-car stacking. We have 4. Keach is looking for 5. We would like to maintain 4. This doesn't prohibit any vehicles from entering the property, and it doesn't obstruct the flow on Route 3. That stacking would then just continue back. So even after 5 cars, we have plenty of room for stacking here. It doesn't obstruct Route 3. Really, the only thing it prohibits you from doing is somebody from taking, quickly merging out and taking a right-hand turn. So that's something that would be, on our side of the property and wouldn't obstruct any of the Route 3 traffic. So that's one thing that we wanted to talk about tonight, is keeping that to 4 cars stacking and not going to a 5th. Does that make sense? What we're kind of how the traffic flow would just be the left-hand turn. You could have 4 cars waiting and still have cars pulling out to the right. We'd just be at the 5th car. You'd still be able to stack cars. We wouldn't be obstructing the road at all. It would just mean that that person, if there is somebody who needs to make a right-hand turn, they would have to wait until there's 4 cars to access that additional turning lane.
Okay,
So
everybody satisfied with that? I am too, so, okay.
Thanks. Item 2, contour F530, that will be adjusted. It's essentially just mislabeled. So we'll make that update. Items 3 through 7, we'll make these adjustments. I guess it's mostly just labeling that he comments on.
Well, are you proposing to put head walls in?
Yes, we're accepting
Okay,
of all that.
okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, all of his comments there, items 3 through 7, we're accepting of that.
Okay.
And we'll have these drawings amended and submitted back to the town. The sewage pump station and design, all schematics will be provided to the sewer commission. Again, we're meeting with them on the 15th.
Okay, on the 15th, okay.
And that design is complete. We just need to review that. That sewage station has been designed. And then item 9, we'll make that adjustment. Those were the kind of the 9 points on his review.
All right. Any comments? I'm satisfied with that. Is everyone else? Just make sure that after the meeting with the sewer, that it gets to Leanne right away. Okay. Any more comments on those from the board? I'll open it to the public. Any comments from the public? I'll close it to the public and we'll go on. All right, the next order of business is a letter from, the last time we met, Cynthia came in and made a presentation to us. And some of you were here and some of you weren't, but she provided us with the follow-up. And she asked that this letter be a part of the record. And I've spoken with Leanne about that. It will be made a part of the record. The board, all I've shared with the board. If you can read it at your leisure, I just wanted to bring up the things that I wanted everybody to hear. Her concern was the impact of the proposed project on the water quality of Lake Wyndham Swamp. I think everybody in the audience feels the same way, and the planning board feels the same way. I think the citizens of the town of Tilton feel that way. That's our main concern, is to protect the water because it's very important to us. She went further to say that she has some concerns about excess phosphorus and I'm not sure, anthropogenic sources. She said that, I guess in her presentation to us, she provided some information, and Tilton was not one of the areas that was really affecting the waterways with phosphorus, with some of the surrounding communities. But I think what her attempt is to do is to prevent it from happening in Tilton. And she specifically mentioned some areas on the preserve that would be an issue for this. And have you had a chance, Chris, to read it to see what they are?
I have, yep.
Okay, and for the audience and for the board, she's concerned about erosion from the gravel roads and driveways in the watershed as a primary cause of water quality impairment in the lake. So I'd like you to address that. And she also says that the proposed project calls for a large gravel parking area and a number of gravel roads, and it's the stone dust from the paths throughout that seem to cause phosphorus. So if you would address that and see what you could do. And I think she even made some suggestions in terms of there. She talked about specific maintenance practices, and I think you have those, and you provided those, I think, to the state. Is that not correct?
Yeah, it's been provided to
Okay.
the state and the town.
Okay. She had concerns about the beach area that's adjacent to the deck at the northern end of the site. It appears to be larger. That part of her
I did,
letter.
yep,
Can you address that also?
I can. Yep.
Okay. So address those things first, and then
Okay,
ask if there's anything else
Yeah, I have kind of
questions here.
I gleaned kind of 6 key points, which you kind of touched on all those. So,
Okay.
First off, with the phosphorus and algae growth in the lake, we're as concerned or more concerned than really anybody else. Because if this lake becomes a lake that we can't swim in, that's really not good for business. So the preservation of the lake is critical to this resort being successful. So we are definitely aware of that and want to make sure that everybody else from the lake is also being stewards. So on the gravel parking, and that would be this one lot over here, kind of right up by the road as far as we can get away from the lake. So again, all water runoff from impervious surfaces, including lots, the parking lot, are pre-treated in gravel wetlands in accordance with state regulations. And we're actually slowing the rate of water migration to the lake slower than it is right now as a general forested area. So all that's going to be pre-treated in gravel wetlands to collect all that sediment, and really just the water would then pass through to the lake. So all that's going to be collected in swales and gravel wetlands. So snow removal and maintenance plans. Again, we've submitted that maintenance plan to the state. And that's going to live with the property indefinitely. So as long as this property exists, that maintenance plan goes along with it. And there's an inspection plan that goes along with that as well in the maintenance. The beach. So part of this is a Google Earth underlay. We aren't proposing enlarging any of these beaches. So this beach, and there's a small beach over here. All this other area that looks like it's beach, that's actually, we're looking through the water. So that's, none of those beaches are being enlarged. Any of those three at the point or any down here in the cove. It really just, it's the look of the Google Earth. The water is so clear, which is great, especially along here, but that's all underwater. So that's saying it's below water. So she did touch on looking for deep sumps in all the catch basins. So those aren't allowed by New Hampshire Fish and Game. So animals can fall in those, they get trapped. Fishing Game doesn't like them because you end up drowning things in those catchment areas. So what we've done is added 4-bay pre-treatment catch basins and gravel wetlands. So that's a swale before a catchment area. So that's to collect the water, let the sediment settle out, and then it flows into the catch drain and leaves from there. So that's as a request of New Hampshire Fish and Game and a state regulation. So we can't put those into the project. But we've dealt with the kind of what her goals were in terms of pre-treatment, been accommodated.
And I know you are moving you're within the 125 feet on the septic too. And that she brought that up.
Yes.
And we had already discussed that.
Yep. So the septic down on the point, that's 125 feet from the shoreline to meet town standards. And the reason why we're not connecting that to the septic system is there's not enough flow to actually pump the water up to the street. We're too far away. The property's too large. It doesn't work. We'd have to actually inject water into the system to make it work. And that's just the bathhouse down by the point. And then overall, the scope of the project at this time is as depicted. Any further clearing for construction or additional buildings, parking, or roadways would result in us coming back in front of the town for a site plan review. So we won't.
I think those are things that Cynthia wasn't aware that we had discussed it in planning, and also the Conservation Commission had discussed.
Yeah.
I just have one thing. You have the cemetery that's marked and on the plan. Would you object to putting a small fence around that?
There's an existing stone wall around it.
Oh, all right.
But no, we could put a fence around it.
I know, John.
There's a really nice stone wall already around it with that iron gate.
I observed the stone wall there. I think during construction, perhaps just a, what do they call it? Snow fencing, that orange stuff. So that there's a visible barrier so that nobody understands, at that 20 foot that can be removed after the construction is done.
I think it's kind of cool there
And
on the grounds.
And we're glad you're respecting it, but as I say, I brought that up because we've had an issue before with another site in Tilton. You may have read about it, so.
We're happy to.
And I think, isn't it 25 feet, not 20?
25.
Yeah, so we'll do a 25-foot fence around there. Yeah. Yeah, happy to do that. We'll also be doing that for any of the trees that we've proposed to remain. We'll be putting snow fencing around those to make sure that they're protected. And I would ask the board that, pending any further questions, we know that we need to submit for a voluntary lot merger. And then pending AOT approval, alteration of terrain, that we've submitted for our second round of review and comment. Shoreline approval and the dredge and fill approval that we would be accepting of the plans tonight.
Chris, can I just ask you, this is just for my own personal, can you just review again, how much tree clearing are you going to be doing? Can you just kind of go over that a little bit so I have an idea? You may have already done this, but I apologize. I know a lot of it's already been cleared, but.
Yeah, so in this general area here where the building is, there's a couple little pockets of trees. So there's really not extensive tree clearing. The main tree clearing is this entry roadway here for the parking lot and then for this parking lot. And that's the majority of the tree clearing. We do have adjacent to the parking lot, we're looking to, there's some trees in here that we're looking to maintain as well as over here. So it's really just to clear for the parking lot, clear for this lot down here. And then there's a couple of trees. There's some damaged trees up here where the fire department had a controlled burn of some of the
Right.
cottages, kind of in this general area, and those will need to be removed.
I was gonna say, and you're replanting some as well? Okay.
Yeah, so there's an extensive replanting plan, and I can go to the site plan, or, I mean, this depicts the kind of the final product is what we're looking for. I can go to the plans. Oh, it's a lighting plan. Go. So here's the proposed planting plan. But again, new plantings in the kind of, let's start on the left-hand side of the parking lot. Is new plantings in this parking lot here, new trees, along with extensive vegetative buffers here. So we'll be replanting, because a lot of those are big tall pines. We want to get some lower plantings in there between the property line. Some new trees here in the bowl as well, in the front of the building. As you come into the property, we'll have trees here in front of the building as well, kind of an extensive planting buffer there. Some new trees along that existing kind of tree line. This hatched area here is the existing tree line. You can see that kind of squiggly line. That's the existing tree line area. New plantings there. We'll be regrading. This would be in about a year from now. We'll be doing the Route 3 improvements. We're not going to be doing that this fall or in the middle of winter. Once that's complete, that existing roadway would be removed, regraded, and planted. So new trees along the road as well, again, screening the building. And then over adjacent to the parking lots, really replanting. You can see some of the existing hatched areas where we're preserving the existing trees and then adding new trees. Anywhere where we have to regrade, again, new trees as well as some new trees within the parking areas as well. And then some additional kind of right here along the road, which is where there's an existing guardrail that runs here. So with a little kind of grassy area, if you guys are familiar with the property, that'll be filled in with some new trees as well. So really an extensive planting plan.
All that area over to the right of the building.
So here, this is an existing orchard. It's a grassy field right now. The apple trees have been removed, but we're going to be replanting the orchard in that field area. These trees here will remain. We're not proposing any revisions to that. And then down on the point, there are some large pines that were damaged during the burn with the fire department. So those have been removed. And then we'll just have a small clearing for the new septic system down there at the point.
The upper one. The trees, and we like the upper orchard there, as a matter of fact.
Would you go over how many trees are you going to remove when you start digging for your artesian wells?
So there's an existing roadway here.
Oh,
So we're going to be reusing that existing roadway. So it's really just this
Just
last
that there?
section there.
and is that going to be just wide enough for the equipment to go in and out?
Yep, just wide enough for the well truck. And then we're actually, instead of cutting trees through here, we're going to be directionally boring back up to the main building so that we don't have to cut any trees in that area. We really want to preserve this as is.
I would think so. Thank you.
There is a lot of downfall in there that will be cleaned
Sure,
up.
of course.
A lot of bowl pine.
Paco, once again, we had some abutters that were just concerned about some headlights from the banquet parking. I'm happy to meet with them any weekend. I'm happy to meet them at the site, walk the site, view where the trees are going, and I want to give them, we want to give them assurances there'll be no headlights penetrating into the property. If we have to put a smaller fence there or something to contain the light, we will. We think the tree buffer and the shrubs are going to be sufficient, but we want to make sure that we're not disturbing them with any light.
Madam Chair?
Just a second, I'll be.
Yeah. So, I'm going to. The other part, doing this work, you make some spots on the species that are here, as spread by the work and plan in place for, if you discover invasive species, whether it be Japanese knotweed, we're all familiar with that one.
Discovered that.
Yeah,
Well,
everywhere.
it's there. So in this location, kind of where the tennis courts are, there's some Japanese knotweed. And now we're going to have a consultant come in that cuts them, pre-treats all the ends, discards everything. So we're not looking to just come through and rip it out with an excavator or chop it down and mow it. We know it's there. We want it to be removed so that we're not having to deal with that in the future. Yeah, we will be having a third-party consultant. That's what they do, because it's there. And then in the specifications from DOT and from our civil engineers, I mean, all the soils have to be clean and they can't have any invasive species in it. So that's watched pretty closely.
So what you're saying is you bring stuff in, you bring materials in, it has to be cleaned and inspected?
That's all, it's coming from an approved facility
Okay.
where that would be inspected.
Okay.
And say we do need to bring in some structural fill to put in and around the building, under the building. So
Sure.
that's all inspected soils that meet the
Yeah.
standards in our specifications.
Planning board have any other comments? Any comments from the audience? Yes, sir.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't want to get Thank you. Rich Fornier from Tucker Shore Road again. Obviously, this on quite a ways. What has been addressed as far, and it's probably, I'm sure it has, the light, the exterior lighting around the site and also on the buildings, not only so it doesn't shine out on the Route 3, but more importantly, so it doesn't shine across the lake.
yes.
Give me a quick.
Yep. So we, at our last meeting, we reviewed the lighting plan. Again, you can see where we have, these are all dark sky lights in terms of the site lighting. You can see the extent, this is actually the extent of the light emulating from the fixture themselves. They're 15 feet tall. Any of the pathways, we just have enough low lighting, so bollard lighting to light the pathway to provide a safe walkway. And then all of the parking lots will be on motion sensors as well. So those lights will turn off if there's no motion. They're all downward casting fixtures throughout. And yeah, and then on the building, we do have extensive porches. So the whole water side of the building has porches along the whole front side of that. So that you can see here, kind of the structure of the building, that valance there screens from any direct light coming to or from the building. So we'll have just those lights in the soffits to light the actual porch structures, but no lights downcasting onto the lake.
A quick question again for the plan. Is there any kind of a boat launch? I see you've got a number.
No boat launch, and we're not looking to have anybody bring their boat to the property and launch it. So that's not going to be accommodated.
Curiosity question. I assume two houses.
There's this lot here.
Yeah.
Yep, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Any other questions, comments? The audience, I'll close it to the public then. Back to the planning board. Anything, did you look at?
I'll be next.
What?
He's adding to
I'm sorry, when I asked you to wait, I was putting down conditions and we've got more that we're gonna add here.
Okay.
I have a question, and I was asked about this. There was a comment made, I believe at our last meeting, about weddings and bringing an old classic boat, pick up the bride.
Mhm.
Where's that boat gonna be stored? That was a question that was asked of me, and I'm curious.
So the resort boats would be stored at these docks here. And then we have this is an existing set of docks, but these docks here. So kind of those there. And then
And what will the
these.
resort boats be used for and how often?
Can't speak to exactly what they're going to be used for. Tours of the lake, bringing, say, a bride. I mean, that one boat, bringing a bride, we pick them up here on the point at this dock and bring them around out here. Really tours of the lake. We're not going to have a rental fleet of boats for people to use here.
Well, you had said that, but I just, since that came up and I was questioned, I wanted that clarified.
Yeah.
Rocco, once again, so we really don't want to be in the boating business, but we know we're on the lake. We have 26. Really, before. Reservation for open day. They have about 10 to make their arrangements ahead of time. Maybe by reservation only. As far as boat rentals, there are.
Other comments? All right, I'll be with you in just a minute. I don't know. Okay, talked about a merger.
Yes.
Do we have, Leanne, do we have anything on the merger?
Additional on this approval, we would submit for a voluntary lot merger.
And
Unmute them.
I didn't.
an announcement.
like,
Is anyone online who would like to make a comment or ask a question? Checking, I see no questions up there. Usually there's a question and that's how we would answer it. So, okay, so talk to us about the merger again.
We would submit for a voluntary lot merger upon approval of the planning board tonight. And that would be a condition of approval if you guys do give approval this evening.
Oh, you mean for the site plan?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not sure. No. I didn't see anything. All right, we are ready to approve the site plan with the following conditions.
Microphone.
Jane, yeah.
Hmm?
Trying to get you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Ready to approve the site plan with the following conditions. And Tom, if you have anything else to add, please feel free.
Nope.
That you comply with all local and state requirements for that you meet with the sewer department and give us the information that a signed statement from them. That you provide us with the maintenance schedule for checking the
Would that be for
pollution and so
the,
on.
for the silt fencing during construction or the maintenance plan in the future?
Maintenance plan in the future,
Okay.
okay? We want to see the completion of all of Steve Keish's items.
Can I just ask a question? You want all his items, or are you giving him the exception on the queuing on the parking?
Item 1.
We agreed to the queuing as he explained it to us. That was, do you want that to be the exception?
Well,
Okay,
right, if you're gonna
okay.
just reference
Okay, with that exception,
Keach's comments, then you have to make the exception of number 1.
okay, that you comply with all, that you comply, I'm sorry, you can comply with all lighting and signage regulations in the town and noise.
Okay.
That you place a physical barrier 25 feet around the cemetery.
That would be a temporary barrier, right?
Yes, correct. During construction.
Barrier.
During construction. If salt storage is used in the future, that you come back to the planning board with a plan and a schedule for approval. And I can't read somebody's writing. I won't tell you whose, but
I was using a pencil I sharpened with a knife.
posting of a point around the loon nest on land. I think you've already done that, you said.
Well, I think we spoke up from the water from the.
We've reviewed it with Fish and Game. We haven't actually met there on site, but prior to construction, we would have that area roped off.
Okay. All right.
Actually,
And I think it should be roped off after construction as well, when they're nesting.
The full time that they're nesting.
Yeah.
As long as they live there, it's
Okay.
roped off.
All right.
Yep.
And then a submission of the voluntary merger.
I think that's on Keach's statement.
Okay, after we do this, so I'll make that motion with those conditions. Is there a second?
Can I make one other comment? Can we just address noise and music and outdoor music at night for a limitation on that to conform with either your ordinance, or you can put a specific limit on that? for
I said
outdoor?
in compliance with Tilton's sound ordinance,
Or local and state
local
requirements.
ordinance. Did you want to add to that? I think that. Do you have a problem with
Up
that?
to the board.
Does the board have a problem with that? That's what I would think.
As long as it meets our
If it
requirements.
meets our requirements, it would. Do you want to elaborate on that, Leanne?
No, I'm just trying to prevent any questions or issues coming up if there are, outdoor music or, weddings that run. I don't know how late they'll run. Just make sure they're aware of you just want them to meet the ordinance doesn't really speak to music specifically, but it speaks to nuisance and noise. You can make an argument that music is not a nuisance. So I just want to prevent any gray area if we're asked to enforce something in the future that we don't have any guidance on. That's all. If you're fine with that, and
What do you
if,
think?
I don't know if Chris can speak to what the plans are, or maybe Ed can at the site for that. We do know that sound does travel over the
I think you had
water.
addressed that you weren't going to be an all-night partying
We're in agreement of
establishment.
the town
So
ordinance.
Ed Rocco, once again, 21 Dockham Shore. We're
Yeah, I think we have a motion on the floor right now,
We do.
so,
Okay.
and that would probably come up under discussion somewhat, but we do have a motion that it's
Okay.
been made,
We-
so.
Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Is there any more discussion, Tom?
Nope.
Any more discussion, Pauline? Okay. I'll take a vote then. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No,
3 ayes and a no. Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you. Call us when you have baby loons. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for your questions and your patience.
Thanks for all the residents that showed up.
I know. This
Yeah.
is one of the bigger ones.
That was,
And they didn't have a lot of
thank you,
comments.
thank the people who showed up too, I think, because we made a lot of amendments. This changed a lot from.
I thank them for their patience.
Yeah. So a lot of changes. Hi, are you
Buddy?
trick or treating?
Sit down for a second. We have to close out.
Is anybody?
We're almost done.
Are you giving out candy?
They nope.
Oh, you good?
I was happy.
You going downtown? Or is that-
Does anybody have the agenda?
He lives in,
Christine?
I don't know.
What are you doing for Halloween? You gonna go trick or?
Come
Yeah?
closer, what?
Oh,
Oh, no.
nice.
My daughter's pregnant. He's gonna have a baby brother. But
Sure, it's gonna be your brother. Could be
Yeah.
your sister.
nope, they found out already.
Christine.
Wow.
He was asking about your trick or treating, buddy.
Christine.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Do you have a copy of the agenda? Right.
Can't wait. I go out. They
Oh,
don't give me candy and say I'm too big. I'm too old.
if they put it on our table, we'd eat it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
So-
get candy. But he doesn't like
Well,
candy. Do you know that?
what I do is when I give out candy at Halloween, I buy my favorite kind so that when the kids
All right.
show up and there's some leftovers,
we have
I
a-
eat the whole.
All right, the planning board is still in session.
So,
Hey, sit down, buddy.
All right.
He doesn't like candy.
Thank you for being so patient.
You don't like candy?
Nope.
All right, our next
Dum
order,
Dum lollipops, that's it.
Okay.
We have-
I like those.
He eats no candy.
okay, we're still in session.
We'll have to finish up. Sorry, sir. Okay. All right, that's okay.
Should we do a
Just have
motion
a couple
to
things to do.
adjourn?
We just have two other, we have approval of minutes our minutes are the September 13th, 2022.
These are yours.
Give you a minute to look them over. I looked them over, but I've
Which
forgotten them
one
already.
is it, Jane?
September 13th,
I'm
2022.
abstaining, so, yeah.
You weren't here anyway,
That
Leanne. I mean, Leanne.
Oh, oh. That was fun.
You got them, Tom?
Where are we?
That was the next one. Yeah, she said
Was
third.
I at that one?
Hmm?
Says you're not.
No, you weren't there.
You were.
That was the election day.
Oh,
Who was elected?
The last one.
came home from work and I sat on the couch. Up at like 9. Knew somebody was gonna be after me.
The 13th was the election one?
Was the primary.
Oh, we were at, yeah, I was voting.
Hmm.
Oh, yeah, can we?
All right, I'll make a motion to accept them as written. Is there a second?
Second.
Any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Abstaining.
And the next
Before we go
one?
on the next one, is
Yeah,
there a way we can make sure we don't have a meeting on voting day?
we've
we
already,
talked
if you'd
about
read
that.
your minutes.
Oh, okay. Just want to make sure.
If you'd read your minutes. All right, next to me,
I'm on the
It's,
abstention on this one too.
September 27th, 2022, where John made a motion and I seconded it not to have me.
Okay,
You were home in spirit.
okay, yes, because I'm like,
Well, I'm going to make a motion to accept the minutes of September 27th as written.
I'll second it. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
abstain.
And I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I say aye.
Say aye.
Oh, next time, come down by me.
That means we get
I was thinking of it, but I didn't want to disturb you. You were
You
writing.
want to go home?
Well, I was trying to write down conditions.
Remember
That's
that
good
time you
I
guys
know you
gave him,
were,
you
and I
gave
was-
him
I had a whole,
the
I
hammer and I had
had-
pictures. It was him when he was littler, yeah.
I had the whole list of conditions written before I came.
I
Do you
did-
think I could find it? I couldn't find it.
Oh,
That's why I was
no.
rummaging through the papers. I couldn't find it anywhere. I think I left it on my desk.
I had them.
Cameron, everybody said you were very well behaved out
You
there.
were. I didn't know it was the same boy.
I think we should appoint them to a committee.
I do too.
Yeah, we adjourned.
You don't want to do this someday?
Thank you, Tim.
All kinds of paperwork, computers.
He would take
Will you
over.
turn up the
I
heat
think
next
he's
time?
going to.